mobile gadgeteer. I'm going to give you a quick little run through of the HTC Advantage X7510, which is an upgrade to the X7500 7501. This is the 7510. In my review there's some other pictures. We're going to do a quick little video run through. The device comes in this nice leather HTC case, which as you see is very similar to the 7500 one. The one big difference on just the case is that if you flip it over, they now have a window on the back. So you can actually use, let me get the screen on there right, the little slideshow feature down there. You can see I got my signal, a notification, some status. If I move the volume button up, I can actually scroll through a couple of different pieces of information. Home and visiting clocks, and if you have music playing, it'll appear down here. You can actually close it up and kind of see what your music is doing at the time. Okay, let's take a run through, a quick walk around the device. Let me go ahead and slide it out of the case. And let's start on this side. On this side, what you'll see is we have lost 3 hardware buttons on the device itself. So on the front face, we have the word 60 gigs, then there's our microphone, but the 2 start menu and OK buttons are gone, and then up here there's nothing. Over here we now have an additional camera, which I believe was on the 7500, the mobile AMIO European version. The home button, which used to be the Internet Explorer button. This is actually a dual purpose button. Single press is for going home, and a press and hold for me right now is set up for Opera Mobile. Now around the side we have the power button, which is the same as the previous Advantage, but we used to have right here the connection manager, which is no longer a button that's included. Up here is the camera button, just like before, and the stylus silo. On the back we have the same 3 megapixel camera, and we have the same slot in the back for a mini SD, battery and SIM card, and the connector to the keyboard. Nothing along the top. On the other side are the same ports, 3.5mm, the charging port and syncing port with a mini USB, also the proprietary HTC headset, then the VGA out adapter, and you actually get the 4-in-1 adapter included in the box, which is nice. Here's the other stereo speaker and the volume button. So that's a quick walk around the device, so you can see a comparison. Here are the 2 keyboards. The bottom one that has distinct keys is the older Advantage, and the new one, as you can see, is quite flat. There is no buttons protruding. There is ridges around each of the keys, and as you can see, it's a pretty good size. One thing to note on this older keyboard, along the top you have the send button, and you've got shortcuts along with the left and right soft key, and a screen on and off, or a screen on button as well. Now on the new one, what you'll see is there's now a number row along the top, dedicated number row. There are most of the shortcuts. There's our SMS, our mail, web browser over here, our connection manager, turning the haptics on and off, start. We do not have, and there's start and OK, but we don't have the send and end keys or the left and right soft button or the display on. I really would like to have seen the left and right soft button, not so much the phone. Okay, but now let's go ahead and reattach the keyboard to the case, and I'll show you what's unique about this new keyboard. Let's just pop it on there here for a second, and I'll create a new note. Make sure it's not on drawing. Okay, now let me see if we can capture this. I'm not going to talk for a second because I want you to try to hear the keyboard as I type. You should hear a little bloop 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 as I type on the keyboard. So as you heard, as I press the buttons, it makes a little bloop sound. In addition to that, it's actually giving me a little bit of a vibrate every time I push a key. Now, if I turn that off with this option here, I no longer get the sound, but I also no longer get the haptic feedback on the keyboard, so it's important to have that on there. Okay, as I mentioned, it has a 16 gig flash drive versus the 8 gig micro drive that the old one had, and I think that's it for the form factor. One thing I would have liked to have seen is a backlight on the keyboard in dark. It's kind of difficult to use. The previous one did not have that either. Now let's see. The other major thing is that this one has Windows Mobile 6.1, and HTC has included their home plug, which is actually a very nice home screen application that I keep on there. As you can see here, there's the time, date, and then your notifications for email, calls, and SMS. You've got shortcuts to your speed dial. You can tap the sun for the weather. And as you can see, I've got an HSDPA connection with AT&T. It's going to try to gather that weather data. See if it gets that. And we'll jump over here for a second to some shortcuts. There's some by default, and then you can customize your shortcuts that you want. And then here's kind of a profile manager. Sound on and off, vibrate, and this is also your keyboard on and off. Let's go back to see if our weather, there is our weather. Looks like a pretty nice weekend this weekend for us here in the Seattle area. Now, looking a second to get to the right message. I had to pause it because this is actually my text message for voting for American Idol last night, and it turns out I did vote for the winner, David Cook. So what had happened was, as you can see, here's my conversation, and then a response from American Idol saying that this message confirmed my vote, and then me responding back to that with another vote, and it goes on for about 6 pages. So when I first launched the messaging, it showed me the last page, and it only keeps about 15 or 20 SMS messages on each page before you have to go back. So threaded SMS is a new feature in 6.1, which is really nice. It's not quite as pretty maybe as the iPhones, but it is distinctive. There's a blue and a green that tell the difference. Another thing that we've got with 6.1 is in the connections. We've got USB to PC, which I think we had before, but now you can see there's disk drive mode, and clicking that will disable the active sync so that when you plug into a Windows PC, you'll see your 16 gigabyte flash drive right there, and then be able to transfer files back and forth. One thing to remember is this will disable any programs you have loaded, and if you try to start those while you're connected, a warning will pop up and won't launch it. Another improvement is in the connection setup. If you were to tap that, it gives you the options to set up your carrier, and it actually works very well. It's much easier than trying to enter all of those specific settings. And I believe the other one from 6.1 is in our programs. Getting started, yes. In here there's a new getting started feature, which is great for newcomers to Windows Mobile, and as you can see, it'll walk you through how to make a call, how to set your date and time, set up your email, password, and so on, which is great to help people get along. Let's see, I wanted to go to my connection manager real quick. And there's the connection manager, and what you'll see is something I learned today actually was in the Bluetooth. When you add a new device, the headsets, I didn't have to enter any pin codes or anything. It just automatically, I think it's probably just assuming they're 000, which they mostly are anyway, so it picked that up and it made it real simple to connect to a headset. So that's a look at the HTC Advantage 7510, which is the upgraded version of the 7501. Unfortunately, we may not see this in the US because of the Qualcomm chip ban right now, but it should be available through US importers, and as you can see, it does support HSDPA on T-Mobile. Thanks.